Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Passion Paradox podcast. My name is Ryan Go, and I'm going to be your host for today's episode. In today's world, mental health is often overlooked. Whether it be school, sports, business, or other aspects of life, mental health is often, unfortunately, neglected. In today's episode, I have here with me today a psychology content creator who teaches others how to manage, control, and improve their own mental ability to perform. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a proper and welcome to the episode today, Mr. Psych with Shri. How are you today?
I'm so good, Ryan. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. I'm doing very well. And before we actually get into the meat and potatoes as to what we're going to talk about today, I feel like it's worth mentioning our first run-in before we actually, set up this interview today because we've been going to the same gym for quite a while now, but we just never knew each other up until this point. And then I remember,
Huh?
I think it was like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago that you just came up to me with my friend and you were like, yo, are you Ryan? And I was like, who are you again? I was like, oh, wait, that's Psych with Shri. I was like, that was really cool encounter to see because, what are the chances of, showing up on the same day and stuff like that too?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you reached out to me, I looked through your profile and stuff. So when I saw you at the gym, you just looked super familiar, right? But I
Right.
just couldn't pinpoint exactly how I knew you. But then it kind of clicked. I'm like, oh wait, he's Ryan. Like he's the one that reached out to me for this podcast, and that's why I came up to you because obviously, why? Who would I be if I didn't introduce myself to you? Because you were gonna be interviewing me. So yeah, it was just a really cool coincidence, though.
Right, yeah, no, I was laughing about it on the way home. I was like, what are the chances of this happening? But,
Yeah.
without further ado, let's really just dive right into it. So take a couple minutes of yourself, man. So tell the audience who you are, where you're from, and what you're doing right now.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Shrvatsan Shakti Sundaram, right? And I'm a senior now in high school. Wow, it's crazy that I'm a senior.
Yeah.
I go to Morris Hills High School. Yeah, man, it's been a crazy 4 years of high school, but finally we're here at senior year. So yeah, I live in Morris Plains, and I've lived here for quite some time. And the reason I got so interested in mental health and psychology is because, when I was in 10th grade, I think I faced a lot of different things. So first of all, it was a lot of different things with my social circle. Some things weren't going great. And at the same time, I had a lot of academic pressure. As someone who is Asian American, obviously there are some stereotypes and some standards that we've been forced to live up to. At least for me,
Correct,
that's just
yeah.
culturally. And in addition to that, I'm also in this program where I'm surrounded by people who are super duper smart, and sometimes it's hard for me not to compare, and that kind of amounted to some feelings of being behind and feeling like I wasn't living up to the standard that I should be. So all of that compiled to kind of a low point for me, and because of that, I decided to kind of seek different ways to get help for myself, right? So that's when I kind of indulged in self improvement. So obviously, first, I looked at YouTube videos
Right,
because
yep.
there's so many content creators out there. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Hamza.
I have,
He's
yep.
great. Yeah, yeah. He's a great content creator. So I used to watch him all the time. I remember, one day I was at the bus stop. It was 6 a.m. or something because I was waiting for my bus, and I was just listening to a podcast from him because I just wanted to be learning from him at
Yeah,
all
you just
times
want to
because
improve.
exactly, yeah. And I don't know, it kind of becomes like an addiction sometimes because when you see different aspects of your life getting better and things like that, it really inspires you to keep going, and that's how I felt at that time. And I remember there was this one video of his where it said "Hey, anyone can be a content creator related to mental health. Like you can inspire other people." And that's when it really hit me. Hey, why don't I become an advocate, but just shift it towards being for teenagers? Because it's easier to connect with someone when they're of your same age and things like that. So I thought, hey, why don't I do this and share my experiences as a teenager, and how I've helped improve my own mental health just so I could help others as well. So that was the main reason as to why I did this.
Right. I love that. the main point as to why you started content creation about mental health and psychology is because the amount of reach you have to your audience. Because when you go on YouTube seeking self help, at least on my end, right, it's usually these 20 to like, it's a wide range, right? But 20 to 40-year-old guys, and they already have these life experiences. So it's kind of weird to put yourself in their shoes because even though they don't seem that much older than you, they still have a lot more years behind you. And like just the timing of it all, it's weird because like it's a lot easier to put yourself in the same shoes of and resonate with another guy at your age, so that way it actually helps you improve your mental health a lot better in that way too.
Yep, exactly, exactly. And the thing with my content is like I always in all my videos I usually like even mention that it's okay to feel this way because I feel the same way. Like my videos about feeling behind and stuff, I say that I feel the same way because it's true. And that's not only just to connect with the audience, but that's just to, be realistic. Like it's fine. And these content creators are probably dealing with issues of their own. No one's like perfect, so it's important to also realize that.
Right, yeah. So in your experience, right, in terms of content creation with psychology, and I guess because I'm assuming you're doing this all solo, right? Do you have a team yet, or are you just doing this as a one-man band?
No, this is all me. Yeah.
Right. That first of all, huge respect and props to that because whether it's like content creation or really any industry, if you're just doing it alone, that deserves massive props and respect alone. So, tip my hat off to you. But in
Thank you.
terms of content creation and psychology, what is or what are some of the most common misconceptions that people have about mental health, just in general?
Uh, yeah, that's a really good question. I think that the biggest misconception that some people have is like they think that they're never gonna get better. And I think the reason they do that is because they're not really looking for long-term solutions, right?
Right.
So I don't, so the reason I'm saying this is because when you go on to any form of social media and you look for ways to improve your life, there's two sides to it. First of all, your motivation, you're going in kind of expecting like a quick and easy outcome. Because when you go into social media, the person on the other end is not going to be able to provide you with that much information to change your life drastically,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But still you're gonna go in with the mindset thinking, oh, like these people are so educated and they're so popular, like they're gonna give me something that will change my life completely. And also on the other end, for the content creator themselves, it's like they can't be giving you everything to change your life. Same thing. So it's on both ends, like it's not gonna be life changing like advice. It's just gonna be something that kind of motivates you, inspires you, and gets you in the right direction. So I just want to like pull a quick analogy from my own life. So I remember at the same time that I was watching videos from Hamza and things like that, I was also watching a lot of videos related to, business and like e-commerce because I know I feel like a lot of the creators that were, pushing this mental health, especially for like for men, they were also having these businesses and teaching people how to create these businesses and things like that.
Yeah, that was a
But
huge age of YouTube with like drop shipping and stuff. I know exactly
yeah,
what you're talking about. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I got indulged in that craze myself. And the thing is, like these side hustles and things, first of all, they're not going to always work, and second of all, they take a lot of time and effort and commitment. But the way that these videos make it look is, hey, you can start a business in a week, get to 10K a month like within a few months, and because of that, the people going into these videos are expecting their life to change so drastically by a video, that's the biggest misconception with mental health as well. People go in thinking, "Oh, I'm going to be completely happy and completely reshape my mindset and everything just from this one video." And that's just not true. And I think the biggest thing is that it lies in the person watching the video. If you think that you can get better and if you're using the different things that the video is talking positively, then you can get better, but you can't expect this video to solve all of your problems. And that's just one thing that's a huge misconception with social media creation around mental health.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying because when it comes to these content creators online, whether it's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels, whatever, since it's not like, the stereotypical and traditional, like, appointment with your therapist or psychiatrist, they have to find a way to reach a broader audience. And the reason, not reason, but the way they do that is to make the information that they're pushing as general as possible. So, yes, it can kind of help you, but it doesn't really help you, case to case with person to person watching. So, I guess that's one really difficult part that you as a content creator, you have to figure that out yourself, correct?
Yep, I definitely did. Yes.
Right. So you have that, and then another thing is just like the amount of people that are actually content creating in terms of mental health, self help improvement. It's just like you have to figure out how to stand out from the rest, right? And this segues into my next question for you because you can have all the information you want, you can articulate it as best as you can, and just from this interview alone, I can already tell you're a great person for communication. You can articulate your ideas very well. But in terms of social media and the content creation landscape, the only way that you can quote unquote succeed in that realm is if you stick out. So, from your end, what is one way that you were able to, figure out how to stick out from the rest, from the herd, and how to make yourself a unique content creator in the midst of this sea of self improvement and all of these other people?
Yeah, so honestly, I think social media is a skill, right? And you can't, like, no matter how good you are at communicating and things like that, you kind of have to be like, within this industry and kind of just like try different things in order to succeed, based on what you're seeing online. So I think for me, the biggest way that I've stood out is one, like kind of looking at different things that engage audiences and using that in my video, and also just trying to like showcase my personality as much as possible. So when I first started making my videos, I think that a big issue was I was kind of just giving information, so it kind of sounded like I was a robot, right? And the thing that you want to do when you're making these kind of videos is you want to connect to your audience as much as possible, and cater your videos to your audience, because that's the only way you can succeed. And so what I was doing is I was kind of obviously trying to tackle like the information aspect, but I wasn't tackling the video aspect itself and how well the video could do, because I was just sticking to the hardcore facts and trying to get as much information that was helpful, and not really focusing on how I can make the video more engaging. Because at the end of the day, your video is only going to do good if it has things like a good hook, and it keeps like the audience engaged throughout the video. It cuts like in and out of different things just to keep people engaged. So because of that, I've shifted away from just kind of giving information, and things like that, to having like a more interesting approach to it. So for example, some of my newer videos, they'll start off with something in like pop culture. So like I know one of my videos, it started off with like don't be like Riley from
From
Inside
Inside
Out.
Out. I
And the
just
reason
saw that one too.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I did that is because first of all, Inside Out was like pretty popular at that time when I posted that video.
Right, yeah.
The Inside Out 2 movie came out, and also because this is not just like a regular mental health video when people see it. When they see it, it's kind of like, hey, what is this talking about? Like they're talking about Inside Out, like what is this about?
It
And
acts
then
as a
it shifts
hook,
to
right?
me. Exactly. The hook is super duper important. It's something that I'm still definitely working on, because I know that it can be definitely better. I've been watching a bunch of creators and I love the way that they hook their audience. I'm definitely going to be using hooks that they have, but overall it's just like the engagement that you have with your audience, that will help you succeed. And I think the second biggest thing that'll help you succeed that I still haven't been able to, kind of pinpoint is like dedication and just consistency, right? The thing with me is I didn't create this channel as like me forcing myself to do anything. I created this because I wanted to inspire others and also learn more about myself along the way. And
Right,
so
yeah.
I think in that sense, I've kind of let myself not worry too much if I don't create a video and things like that, because I don't want to be bombarded by stress when I'm dealing with this. I want this to be like a symbol of my passion for mental health and things like that. So I only really make videos when I really feel like it. But the thing is, it's hard to succeed when you're only making videos when you feel like it, because at that point, like you're only going to be creating videos once in a while. And so the thing that I want to do now, as I'm shifting into this fall and my last like year as a high schooler, I want to try to find like a balance between my work life and school life, and also with my video creation. Like I want to create at least maybe 2 videos per week, not keep it too like not like one video per day. That's not sustainable,
Yeah.
but kind of like get videos out more often, because that's another way to you'll see yourself grow. And honestly, another way that you can even stand out, because a lot of people on these social media apps, like they're not very consistent. Like they'll see that they aren't doing very well, and they'll kind of give up, things
Yeah,
like
they'll just
that.
drop it
But
right away if they don't get a surge in popularity.
yeah, exactly. But you have to realize, for like the hundreds of accounts that are successful, there are like hundreds of thousands of accounts that are not successful. And sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's the way in which you approach these issues and try different things as far as trends, and sometimes it's just your consistency. So that's why it's important to take control and maximize all the things that are in your control, like how you hook your audience and how consistent you're posting and what like ideas you're going to be using in your videos. And then leave the rest to, social media as far as luck and the algorithm, because sometimes that's not something that's too predictable. So, yeah, that's how you stand out as far as content creation.
I love it, man. And like one point that you brought up that I really love is that you didn't just start this just to get famous, but you also started this to share your journey and share your evolution in terms of your own mental health and how you portray it to the outside world. Now, I was, browsing on your page on Instagram, and I came across, you interviewing another psychiatrist, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you interviewing
Oh, you're
him,
right. Yes.
and like it made me think because obviously just like any other business you can think of, doesn't matter what industry you're in, as a solo entrepreneur there are definitely obstacles that you had to encounter along the way. And this is a really unique case because you're kind of dealing with two industries at the same time, and it's content creation and then overall mental health as a whole, right? So
Mhm.
it's a super unique situation because one can overlap into the other industry, and then there could be a scenario where they're just two fully independent obstacles that you have to tackle on 50-50 and like figure out how to do that. So at up to this point, right, at up to this interview, what has been your biggest obstacle and biggest takeaway on your journey as a psychology content creator?
All right, so I've definitely had a bunch of different obstacles and things like that. So first and foremost, before like even I interviewed people and things like that, my biggest struggle was just the amount of engagement I was getting, because I used to spend so long on these videos. Like it took a lot of time to create the script and to create how I was gonna engage my audience and find the clips for it in the editing. Like honestly, it just made me appreciate every video that I watch online now, because it takes so long to do these videos, right?
Right, just in
And
post production alone you have to take a lot more time to
yeah,
do it.
God, editing takes so long. And also like it's hard because if you need to spend a lot of time on the script too, because if the script's not good, then the final video is not good. So it's all of these things combined, right?
Right.
And the thing I was struggling with is like obviously like how many viewers were on my channels and things like that, because I'd put a lot of time and dedication, and it wasn't not necessarily wasn't paying off, because there were times where it definitely paid off, not even in the viewer count, but in the comments. Like, it's so great to just see complete strangers just thanking me for my videos. I remember once on my YouTube channel, someone was like, "Hey man, I really appreciate I really needed this video. Thank you so much for making it." And just that one comment alone just made my week, because those kind of things are what you do this for. That's why I'm doing this. It's to help others just find peace in whatever they're doing and find some way to help themselves. So it's those kind of things that definitely help me get through these struggles. But even with that being said, there are definitely like dips in view counts a lot of times, dips in likes, things like that. And those are the only ways you can really measure how well you're doing in this industry, because, not everyone is going to be able to comment and things like that. But like liking and viewing, that those are all like easy ways to understand your metrics. And so when those are lower, as someone who I can't see my audience, so I can only base how much I'm influencing them
Based
on
on the
things like this.
numbers, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, which is really unfortunate, because like I've had some people at school, because a lot of people from my school do watch my videos. I've had them come over to me and tell me like, "Wow, thank you so much for this video." And that is, an upside for me. Like if I didn't have that, I'd probably feel much like even worse about like the view count, because I can't even tell how people feel about it. But obviously it is affecting people, and even if it's affecting one person, like it really helps to be able to see it in person as well. But that's definitely one thing that's been hard. But honestly, even beside that, I kind of just, whenever I feel like that, I kind of just like recenter myself into why I'm doing this, the purpose. It's not really, it was never for the views, never for the likes. It was mainly just to help others and help myself, because I've learned so much about different self-improvement like techniques just by making these videos. Because who would I be if I wasn't even following what I was saying, right? So I've followed basically every video that I say. I do all the different things that I say in my videos because, I want to be an embodiment of what I say.
Right,
So it's
yeah, you
helping others,
practice
it's
what you
helping.
preach.
Exactly, you practice what you preach. So because of that, I realized that the value of my videos definitely transcends all these different metrics. So that's just one thing that I keep in my mind whenever I'm facing this. The second kind of thing, as far as with mental health and just the different things that I've tried to do with mental health, even like beyond social media. First, I'll talk about with social media. So the thing with mental health is sometimes it's definitely harder to kind of initialize different things because there's so much stigma around mental health. And so it's like hard to pinpoint like who you want to interview and things like that, because you want to make sure it connects to your audience, and also like, it's something that they would be able to benefit from, because sometimes like with the stigma around social media, some people won't even care what a therapist says and things like that, because they think it's
It
just
just
too
doesn't apply
extreme.
to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So exactly. So that's why I had to find people who and interview them in a way that I could, still have whatever they were saying apply to the people in my audience. And this is actually something I talked about in my recent interview. I'm still editing it, but it was about the fact that a lot of people see mental health as an extreme, right? So it's either that you have all these mental health disorders and things like that, or you're not really affected by mental health. And they think that these are the two avenues, and that everyone who has these disorders, they're the
It's
only
on like
people who
a
can go to
crazy extreme,
therapists.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So they think only the people that have these disorders and everything can go to, let's say, a professional like a psychologist, and everyone else just has to like live with it themselves. And I think that this is such a bad way to look at it, because this is the reason why mental health is growing at such a rapid pace. Is because people, even if they have like just some anxiety about different things, they can definitely still speak out about it, and it has nothing to do with having a disorder. I think the fact that mental health disorders have such a negative connotation is why people don't
Yeah, they
try
keep
to
it in
reach out
rather
for help.
than actually trying to seek out help because they don't want to have that image like, oh, I have something wrong with me or anything like that.
Exactly, yeah. And that's the issue that I was facing when I was going into asking these people for interviews. Like, how am I going to make it so that this information still appeals to my audience without being too extreme? Because obviously the general like consensus is that you only go to these professionals if you have like a disorder or something, which is definitely not true. In fact, every single person that I've interviewed so far has told me that everyone should have a therapist, which even surprised me. But they bring up a really good point. Like, you should be speaking out about your feelings, and there's no like value to your feelings. Like, it's not like one person who just has just because they have a disorder means that their problems are more amplified. Like, even if you don't have any disorders, like, you are valid for whatever you're feeling, and you can go out and seek help. So that was something that I ran in along the way as far as like with mental health. Also, obviously, as far as interviews, it takes a lot of time to get an interview and reach out to people, because, especially when you're reaching out to a professional that's really busy, like it's common for them to be like, no, sorry, I can't help you, or just completely ignore your emails. So that's happened to me a bunch of times, in various different aspects of my life, but especially in finding these interviews. And the final thing that I want to say as far as my work with mental health is I am trying to start initiatives at my own school, because as a senior, I just want to leave like some sort of legacy behind for my school.
Yeah,
So I've
make it really
tried
set in
to.
stone where you went to school. That's a great idea.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. That's what I want to do. And this year, for my school at least, they're having mental health be like a district goal. So I want to get involved with that. But another big thing, another big issue is that because mental health is such a sensitive topic, it's really hard for me to initiate something and get it, going immediately. Like, I wanted to start a workshop with the incoming freshmen for the school year, right?
Right.
And I wanted it to be like it was during their orientation. I just wanted it to be maybe like even a 10-minute talk on just an outline of high school and how there's going to be some stress involved, but how what they can do to cope, who they can reach out to, and things like that. Because that's something that I struggled with when I was like a sophomore, when I was earlier on in high school. And so I thought this would be a really great way to help them. But the thing is, like, even though I reached out like a month early, it's still really hard to implement these things because, as far as with school, it's a really sensitive topic. You know, you can't just go and speak about mental health. It has to have all of these, regulations and has to be like approved by the Board of Education and things like that. So
Yeah, there's a lot of hoops that
there's
you have to
just
step through in order to just get it
yeah, and that's
approved.
the thing. It's just really frustrating for everyone because it's so much harder to help people just because we're talking about mental health. Like if you
Right.
wanted to go and speak about like physical health, like things like that, about cancer, things like that, it's so much easier because we accept physical health as something a big issue threatening our lives. But nobody seems to understand that mental health is something that is just as important as physical health. Because if your mental health is not like good, then you can't function like a normal human being. Just like how you can't function like a normal human being if you had like a really bad fever or like COVID or something like that.
That's the
It's
thing
the
that I
exact
always
same
think
thing.
about where like mental health, even though excuse me, even though the two seem that they don't overlap, mental health can have a direct correlation as to how you're performing physically. It's insane.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Ryan. I thank you for saying that because that is exactly how I feel, and that's exactly how a lot of the people that I've interviewed feel. And so it's just something that a lot of people don't understand because it's hard to change the entire society's viewpoint on mental health. Like it's not something that can happen in a day, but that's why it's important for creators, not just like me, but all these creators out there to kind of, even if they're not talking about mental health like specifically like how I am, just kind of make their audiences know that it's okay to speak out and things like that, because I think every aspect of society should be a little more accepting of mental health, whether it just be like if you're gonna join a job or something, your boss should tell you, hey, you can reach out to me for mental health. Or I just had EMS training yesterday. I think I told you about that.
Yeah, you did. You did.
In our Yeah, and I did CPR training, and my instructor was telling me like, hey, sometimes like in this profession, especially when you're dealing with CPR, especially for like children and infants, it can mess you up, right? And he told me like if you need to back out, you always can in a situation. Or if you ever need to talk, you definitely should, because that's something that can really affect you. So it's even like these people, these frontline workers, like these EMS professionals, EMTs, these firefighters, all these people are struggling with the same thing, and we as a society just need to be more accepting, just so like we can have more initiatives, being put forth, and more people can benefit from all of these different things. So I think it's just we need to stomp onto this mental health stigma. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I love everything you said. Just want to give a quick shout out to my own ambulance squad, Car 66, because I'm also an EMS first responder. And everything that your instructor has told you so far about, like, it can get crazy messed up in a matter of seconds. Like, I don't want to get it too in depth with it right now because, it'll take way too much time to recount the entire story. But, like, we were
Hmm.
on our way back from a previous call, like, on our way back to our HQ, and then we got the call, and I was like, okay, it's just another call, so we'll just deal with it and then go home. And as soon as we get on the call, bro, you can immediately tell something's wrong because, like, I'm in the back of the truck, right? Because
Hmm.
the configuration's like driver, passenger, and then two people in the back, like riding with the
Yeah.
patient usually. So I'm in the back of
Hmm.
the truck, and then in the front of the truck, I just hear like, holy shit. I'm like, yo, what is going on? And then obviously, I'm not gonna do the details because that's for another episode when I'm actually talking about, myself and my own experiences. But to
Yeah.
cut the long story short, it went from 0 to 100 in the quickest way that I could possibly explain, bro.
Wow.
People don't realize in terms of, like you just said, first responders and like other jobs in the same or similar profession line of field, mental health, if it's not right and if it's not cracked down upon, it'll mess you up even worse than you actually think it could be.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100%. Like we look up these people because, they're the ones protecting us and things like that, but we forget that they're still humans at the end of the day. So that's just something we have to keep in mind. Yeah, and yeah, respect to you for. I don't know your story, and I'm definitely gonna look out for that podcast episode. But respect to you for however you're dealing with it. As far as that, and also shout out to my own EMS squad, Hanover Fire Department. They're great, and so yeah, I bet you can understand how like mental health is a huge aspect of this industry, as far as like EMS and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, bro, I totally do. Massive
Yep.
respect. So, before we wrap things up, I have one more question that I really need to ask before we go, right? And the
Of
question
course.
is this, right? What role do you think social media plays in shaping the public's perception on mental health? And, like, how do you see your own content contributing to those challenges and how to change the narratives that social media has previously pushed onto its viewers?
I think that social media, without it, I think mental health would definitely be at a much lower point. I think social media is doing a wonderful job as far as educating the public and getting people to understand what mental health is like, how they can help with their own mental health. But obviously, there are some downsides, like a lot of people say that mental health can also diminish your social media can also diminish your mental health, which is definitely true. So, the classic example that people bring up is with celebrities and how like celebrities look so perfect, they're living these lavish lives and things like that, so a normal person, just like you and me, would be like, oh man, like I'm super jealous about how they feel or things like that. A lot of things, with like your image of how you are, with like your body and things like that. With these fitness creators, we think that if we're not looking like fitness creators, we're not good enough as far as our bodies. So these things can definitely impact your mental health, and they're definitely things that we need to improve. And honestly, I don't think it's necessarily the fault of these creators. They're not creating these videos with an ill intent, but it is hard not to compare to these people, because social media, it's in its name, it's social. You're connecting to other people and things like that, and just like in human connection, like face to face, sometimes like you can get jealous at other people. It's just a common trait for humans. You compare yourself to others, and these things can definitely diminish your mental health. But when you look at the more positive sides of social media, you see that there's a lot of content creation that is just inspiring people. Like I get so many videos on my feeds, just like kind of snapping me back to reality, and telling me like, hey, like it's all gonna be okay. If you don't have it figured out, it's fine. Don't worry. And it's not like this is life changing. Like this is not like life changing advice or anything. It's just telling me like, hey, everything is gonna be okay. But just
Yeah, it's
having
more
someone there for
settling.
you, just yeah, exactly, exactly. It's just having knowing that somebody's there, like that. Just the fact that somebody is like kind of helping you. It feels like it's more personal. Social media has definitely gotten to a point where everything feels more personal to you with like for you pages and everything. But like I think the fact that there's people out there that really do care about you and they're making this kind of content makes you feel more reassured, and you feel better about whatever you're dealing with, because you have someone, and you have social media just inspiring you to just be better. So I think that's definitely something that social media is doing great, and it's definitely getting better at. And that's just where I want to play a role. Like I want to be part of that side of social media where it's inspiring other people and helping them kind of understand their mental health, because that's something that a lot of people can't grasp. It's hard to like understand your feelings and put them into words and things like that. But when you have someone kind of hitting the spot, like saying exactly how you feel and giving, some advice, maybe just some support, just like, hey, you're gonna get through this. That is just such a big lifesaver sometimes. Like that's all you need to hear. You don't need someone to fix all your problems. You just need someone to tell you that it's gonna be okay. And that's just where I want to play a role. And I think that's what social media is doing so well. So that's something I'm looking forward to seeing grow in social media. And I'm definitely looking forward to continuing my journey as a content creator, as I grow up, because I want this to be a part of my life, forever, because I just love doing this. I love learning more about myself, and I love helping other people with their mental health. So, yeah, that's just my viewpoint on social media and my part in it.
I love it, man. And like I like what you said that for some people, they don't really need a 100% certain solution to whatever problem that they're facing. Is that sometimes all they need to hear is that they'll be fine. And one quote that I always run through my brain whenever I'm feeling like super down, right, is the quote, "It shall pass." And like whether it's the high moments in life or the low moments in life, the thing is, life is a roller coaster no matter where you're from, what you do, who you are, right? There's always going to be the high and low points, and that you have to remember that it shall pass too, because you can't stay down there forever and you can't be in glory forever. So you just got to figure out how to ride the waves. So I love everything that you said there, man. So
Yep,
I heard
beautifully
that.
put, Ryan.
What is
Yes.
it?
No, I said beautifully put. Yeah, you can
Thank you.
continue.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. So, you just previously stated that you want to continue content creation as a part of your life moving forward. What is the end goal here in terms of leaving your legacy on content creation with psychology?
I never looked at content creation ever as being there ever being an end goal because the thing with social media is just an avenue to share, right? So,
Right.
like for me, the end goal is like just continue. There's no really end goal in my mind because I just want to keep sharing with the world whatever, wisdom I acquire, whatever knowledge I have, things like that. And I guess if we wanted to put an end goal just to a point where I'd be kind of satisfied or whatever, is just like when someone it reaches out to me not immediately after a video, maybe even like a year later, saying like, "Hey, like whatever you said in this one video, it kind of inspired me to start working on myself, and I just built my way up from there, and now I'm doing great." And it's just things like that. I know that a lot of other content creators have actually like voiced like people reaching out to them like that, and I think for me that would be kind of an end goal. Like I mean, obviously even after that I'd still make videos, but it
Right.
just be
Yeah.
really fulfilling to see that like it's having a real effect on someone's life, like it's like changing their life, even if it's just like me saying, "Hey, you're gonna get through this." Sometimes that's all these people need to hear in order to feel better about themselves, because even for me, like that's how I felt like when I was watching these videos from Hamza. For me, even him just saying like, "Hey, I didn't have my life figured out when I was your age," and like things like that in his videos, like that really shifted my mindset and made me like start to work on myself and realize, hey, it's okay if I'm like behind, if I'm feeling behind, because I'm not supposed to have everything figured out. And so I just want to be the Hamza for other people, basically. I just want to be the person that inspired me, but just to others, like if that makes sense. Like that's just how I see
Just
it as
become
like a
another
good end
household
goal for
name.
myself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I
That's
love it.
that's all I want, and because that will show me that I truly did impact other people positively. So yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Awesome, man. I love it. Man, it's truly inspiring, bro. Look, man, I'm so glad that you were able to come on the podcast and really do this interview as a whole. I'm super privileged to, just for you to be here, really, because I'm looking at the running clock, it's been around 40 minutes. And within this time, we've been able to extrapolate so much information that not only helps me understand what you really do, but to the viewers listening, it opens the door as to, your own content and your own channel. And it can promote better access for mental health resources and other things like that. So without further ado, just like thank you so much for coming on to the episode, man.
Thank you, Ryan. And whatever you're doing here is such a great thing, just not only for me as someone who's a small content creator, because you're helping spread my message, but also to your audience because you're exposing them to different things that are kind of overlooked in our society, whether it be like small music creators like how you did last time, or just me, a small content creator as far as mental health. So all of that is just truly inspiring. So we need more people like you who are spreading this information and just being so positive about everything, man. So good job to you as well.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. More respects to you. So, before we head out, is there anything else that you would like to say to the audience listening right now?
Yeah, just really quick, like if anyone out there is struggling with anything, however big or small it is, just reach out to someone. It could be your friends, your family, someone you trust at school, things like that, someone you trust in your workplace, or if it has to be like a real therapist, that's completely fine, completely acceptable, but definitely speak out because holding it in is not going to help you, and speaking out will make you feel so much better. So, I just want to leave everyone with that. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Passion Paradox podcast. My name is Ryan Go, and I'll see you in the next episode. Good night.